Good morning. Hello, everybody. How are you this fine week? It is a new month. Crazy. March went so quick. Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody? April Fool's Day. Yeah. Be like, so we're not coaching today. Sorry. Just kidding, April Fools. Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited for those of you who just went through part 2 of coaching. You get to watch me do a root cause coaching session today. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your questions. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad, Gail. I'm so glad. So please, this is the time to ask me those questions. Ask me, why did you ask that question? Where did you get that from? How did you know to ask that? All of those things. Welcome, everybody. All righty. So as more and more of you hop on in the next couple minutes, you guys can go ahead and start typing into the chat anything you'd like to be coached around. Anything you'd like to be coached around, you type it into the chat. I love that, Samantha. All righty. Jessica, how are you on workouts? It's afternoon for you. I'm on water 1. Okay. So and coach mostly the same root and similar issues. Perfect, Brian. So that we can talk about a little at the end, and it's all about cleaning up your root causes, right? That must be your root cause. It's all going to go back to that thing, whatever it is. And then once that's released, and then you move on, and then life, and then you find another root cause. So that's totally normal. Money blocks, and stop teaching. Okay. Yes, some money stuff. Okay. Nope, works on everything, Kathleen. Works on everything. Hi, Donna. Hi, Des. And creating programs and avoiding money generating activities. Right? Anybody else type into the chat anything you'd like to be coached around? Seems like it's going to be a money theme today. All right. All righty. All right, Samantha, let's go with you. We're going to coach around some money generating activities. then hopefully this supports the rest of you as well.
There we go.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Alrighty. So, what is the most important thing for us to talk about today?
I'm feeling really good about everything I've learned, putting it together in offerings. I'm taking part in summits and giveaways and creating new things for every one of them. Some of which can be turned into evergreen things. But that seems to be where I'm stuck. I'm not I'm not doing anything that actually gets me clients. Well, eventually maybe the list building will, but I'd like to have some active income coming in while I'm building my list.
Yeah. All right. So, what would you like to have at the end of the session?
Some clarity on maybe on how to shift my motivation, I guess, or my attention. Um, if I could be as eager to to you know enroll clients as I am in creating new programs, I would like that. Part of the problem is I don't have a very big list. And so I don't have like a list of people I can pick up the phone and call and say, hey, are you going through a major life change? Would you like some help with this? Do you want energy healing? So while I feel like I'm doing all the right things to build my list, get my name out there, be seen, I need money.
Perfect. Alrighty. So, what is your definition of money? Let's start there.
Um, Cash, income, it's it's that positive exchange of value, energy. I do something for you, you pay me. I want something you have, I pay you. Um, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you had said that you're spending time on creating programs and not on money generating activities.
Mhm.
What do you believe is a money generating activity?
And maybe that's the problem. Um, I'm having a hard time even thinking of anything that would bring money in immediately. I mean, I'm doing the long-term stuff. So I realize I need to change my focus,
Mhm.
but I don't know where.
Okay, perfect. Just for clarification, what specifically, so you mentioned like energy and things like that. So, what specifically are you doing in your business?
I'm a death doula. I do life threshold transformational coaching and energy healing. The death doula part is all local, one on one, in person. And that part of my business is okay. Um, you know, They come to me when they come to me, and I can only handle one or two at a time just because of the logistics. If I have six dying clients, I can't support them all.
Mm,
So then the other side of my business, the coaching and energy healing, is what?
perfect. Okay. So you said you've been spending some time creating some programs. Just give me a very chunked up, what programs have you been creating?
I'm putting together a community which will offer monthly group energy healing and coaching sessions. I am finalizing a master class. I've got it already, except for creating the PowerPoint slides. Um, I just finished a 5-day email course on um, energy. Um, so those are the kinds of things I've been doing.
Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to pick on your master class.
All right.
You just have slides to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So what date are you going to have your master class scheduled for?
Um, I haven't actually decided that because it has to be after a summit that it's being presented at. So it will be in mid um, May. I don't have the dates on how long they're going to keep the the event rolling through. I mean, or at
That's fine.
least the
Mid-May is
stuff
good.
active. Yeah, mid-May,
Okay, great. So
sometime between Mother's Day and Memorial Day.
perfect. Okay. So what's important to you about this master class?
Hmm. Um, it will show people kind of my theory of coaching. It will introduce them to that. Um, it will, yeah, maybe get them to sign up for some coaching. But I'm, you know, this generate program thing that my mind is on, is thinking, oh, maybe I should create some big program rather than just one-on-one coaching, and have that for them.
So what's your offer going to be in your master class?
That's just it. I keep telling myself, oh, I need to create something new.
Hmm.
And
So if
I'm
you were to sell something for $3,000 on your master class, and just pick a number.
okay.
So you're gonna get on your master class, you're gonna do your master class, you're gonna sell it, and you're gonna be like, this is my $3,000 program. I want you all to come.
Yeah.
Sign up at this QR code, at this link. So when you
It would probably be a 3-month group coaching with individual energy healing.
great. So when you think about making that offer, what if any negative thoughts and emotions come up?
No one's going to buy.
And what makes you so sure of that?
Hmm. It's just this thinking feeling in the pit of my gut.
So if nobody buys, how's that a problem?
That means I have no positive exchange of energy. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves what I'm offering.
Can I state an observation?
Please.
So you're saying that if nobody buys something, it means that they don't love you. So somewhere in your brain, you believe that money and love mean the same thing.
Hmm. I would, I want to say no, but maybe.
I mean, you just said it.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna buy. Well, how's that a problem? Nobody's gonna love me.
Yeah.
You just said it.
They certainly
So
wouldn't love my program, but yeah, you're right. Me came out first.
me came up first, and then what you were offering came up second.
Hmm.
So the love nobody loves me was the unconscious slip. So
But I don't feel like it's connected to money.
what's your definition of love?
Mm. Love is being seen, being valued. Uh, the word cherished is coming up. It's also like people I love are as their well-being and their happiness are as important to me as my own. And yeah, so the love is being, I can't think of a better word, relevant to somebody, important.
Would you ever characterize love as being a positive exchange of energy as well?
Absolutely.
That's where they're the same. That's
Yeah.
where they equal each other.
So
So
it's not the money so much as the value, the
it's
importance.
it's your definition.
Yeah.
If money is a positive exchange of energy and love is a positive exchange of energy, they're linked. Not
Hmm.
they're not, and because they're linked, oftentimes it means they can be dependent on each other,
Okay.
which is all good. We'll fix it. We're gonna separate them because you
Even
get
though
that.
consciously, I would never have said, money does not equal love. You don't have to have money for me to love you. Yeah. No,
But in your brain, they appear and they feel the same way.
they do. Yeah. Especially
So
when talking about selling to others. Yeah.
mhm, right. So when you think of money and love being connected, what do you take that to mean about yourself?
Hmm. Maybe I'm depending on, no, it'd be the opposite. I'm afraid of being rejected, whether in sales or in love. So yeah, I'm dependent on other people's acceptance.
So if you do get rejected in sales or in love, how is that a problem?
I just want to hide
But how is it a problem? How is the being rejected a problem?
because it's a mirror of my worth.
How is your worth determined?
No, my worth is determined only by me.
So then how is it a problem if being rejected is a mirror of your worth?
Then it shows me that I don't think I'm worth much. I have to face that. Yeah.
So when you think about that, what are your negative thoughts and emotions?
Uh, it's like this argument going on in my head, but I'm a good person. I have things, I I should be able to see my worth.
But because you can't, what are your negative thoughts and emotions?
I'm a fraud. I the things that are important to me don't matter. I don't matter.
So when you think about being unworthy, a fraud, and not mattering, what negative emotions, what do you feel?
It's like a combination of deep, deep sadness and anger. So maybe betrayal.
So when was the first time that you believed you were unworthy, that you didn't matter, and you felt betrayal?
Oh, I was probably 7 or 8.
So what around that time happened that made you believe that?
It was summertime, and I remember vividly my mom and I were sitting on the couch folding laundry, pulling things out of the basket. And I remember thinking, I'm a middle child, all right? And I remember thinking, even at that young, I got to say this right. I, I, I need her to understand me, right? And I started off to say something along the lines of sometimes it feels like you don't love me as much as, you know, my sisters. And before I could even finish the sentence, she backhanded me and turned on me and said, "Don't you ever say anything like that again." It's like, okay, I got the message.
So when you were trying to communicate that to your mom and she backhanded you, what did you take that to mean about yourself?
It meant that my feelings were correct, that I wasn't lovable. I didn't matter. And that, well, that wasn't about me. So, no. She was afraid that that was obvious to others. She was ashamed of me.
And at what point did you become ashamed of yourself?
Every time I wasn't perfect, every time someone reacted negatively around me, it must have been my fault.
So it makes sense that you're working so hard on perfecting your programs and perfecting your slides and your curriculum and what you're going to put out into the world, because if it's not perfect and somebody reacts negatively or they reject you or they don't want what you have, it's just going to bring up shame and not mattering and unlovable.
Mm-hmm.
So you're 7 or 8 and your mom backhands you when you try to communicate your feelings and you felt unlovable and that you don't matter and that you're ashamed of yourself. What did you need that you didn't get?
I needed a hug, just a love, acknowledging that my feelings were real. They might not have been true, but they were real, and having that conversation around it.
So, what else? A hug, some love, acknowledgement of your feelings. What else did you need that you didn't get?
I needed I needed to know that her feelings of shame weren't about me, they were about her. She was ashamed somebody might think that she didn't love her children equally.
So, because you needed a hug, you needed love, acknowledgement that your feelings were real, and to not to separate the responsibility of emotion. What qualities and characteristics of yourself did you suppress?
I suppressed willing to be seen at all. I don't remember that young thinking I was shy, but I spent most of my life being like pathologically shy, afraid anybody would notice me.
What else did you suppress?
A lot of self worth, self love. Yeah.
Mm. What else?
In some ways, a willingness even to try. I just went into hiding.
The willingness to be seen, your self-worth, self-love, willingness to try. Anything else?
Trust, and trust anybody much after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you know that you have love and you get to acknowledge your feelings, whether they're correct or not, they are real.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to be seen and you know you have your self-worth, you have your self-love. You get to try, you get to put yourself out there. You get to trust. What else do you get to do when you have all of those things?
Live fully,
Mm.
enjoy life. I get to not worry about whether people want my programs or resonate with me because there are people who do.
So when you get to live fully and enjoy life, what are the qualities and characteristics of yourself?
I feel joy and gratitude and open, welcoming. Yeah.
So when you know that you have love and you get to acknowledge your feelings, you get to be seen, you have self-worth and self-love, you get to try to put yourself out there, you get to trust, you get to live fully and enjoy life and know that there are people out there who resonate with your programs, who want your programs. And you get to have joy and gratitude and be open and welcoming. When you think about being all of those things, what are your positive thoughts and emotions?
I feel relevant. I feel seen, which is a little scary, but it is positive. I feel like I have a purpose, like what I do matters. I'm proud of myself and my work.
So if you're relevant and seen and you have purpose and you're proud of yourself and your work and you know that your work matters, what do you take that to mean about yourself?
That I'm living my best life. Yeah.
And when you know you're living your best life, what do you feel?
I feel expanded and relaxed. It's easy to access joy. I can feel all the feelings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got love. You can acknowledge your feelings. You are willing to be seen. You have self-worth, self-love, and you're gonna go try. You get to put yourself out there. You have trust. You get to live life fully and enjoy it. You get to enjoy life. Whether people want your programs or not, they will. There's people who do. And you get to have joy and gratitude and be open and welcoming and know that you're relevant and seen and that you have a purpose and that your work matters, that you matter, that you're proud of yourself and your work, that you're living your best life. You feel just so expanded and relaxed, and it's so easy to access joy and all of your emotions. When you know and have and be, just embody all of those things, what can be different about doing money generating activities?
Mm. It takes the pressure off, actually. I don't have to have all the answers. I can keep learning and keep moving forward and keep trying new things. And if that didn't work, I'll try something else. Yeah.
And when you know that, do you feel like you have clarity on how to shift your motivation and attention?
Yeah, very much so. I think it just shifted.
And do you feel like you can have the same eagerness for enrolling clients that you do in creating your programs?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that's a given, duh.
Yeah.
So, what's the first thing you're going to go do now after this session?
Um, all right. It don't. I am going to create that offer from the master class rather than just leave it as a one-on-one. Yeah.
Absolutely. You are. And it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you need to talk about today in order to feel whole and complete?
No, I'm good. But I do have a question.
Absolutely. All right.
So
Go ahead.
I feel whole and complete from the coaching session.
Mm-hmm.
But I've noticed from all the coaching that I've had since part two, all the issues keep coming back to the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I think, even on the top, they're disconnected. Is that
Mm-hmm.
common?
Yeah. So your root cause is think of it like a funnel. So you start with like all your presenting problems and it's super broad, super like everywhere, right? And then as you coach down and down and down and down, you get more and more and more in until you get down to a root event. A lot of times, especially towards like the beginning of like the coaching and things like that, you're going to come to the same place often because it was a significant emotional event. So, in significant emotional events, you're probably gonna have a lot of root causes that stem from it. And then when we get to part three and we talk about the releasing, right? So, right, because all the coaching is all conscious.
Mm.
When we get to the releasing, which is the unconscious, doing the coaching and then the releasing, that's where we meld the two. So you'll notice you'll often come back to either the same person or the same event. So like me, I coached around my dad for like, how many years have I been doing this? 5 years, and I still coach around him, even though he lives in Florida and I don't ever see him anymore. I just project all my stuff onto him because it's easier, right?
Yeah.
So you'll often notice you're like, why do I keep having to get down to the same thing or talk about the same person, right? Because our unconscious mind likes the path of least resistance. So it's always going to find, well, we've already cleared the path to project on this person. Why not? In the past, right? In like your childhood, right? You're going to be like, oh, I'm just going to take it all back to this event. And we clean and release, and sometimes it'll change. So it can change.
So I've never gone back to the same event
Mm-hmm.
or even the same person, but it's kind of the same issue of self-worth and, feeling not loved.
Yeah. So then it's releasing in the unconscious mind.
Okay. So it's just that's all my unconscious mind is seeing, and it's pointing out those
This
events.
is our
Okay.
big problem right now.
Okay.
We need to get rid of this. So,
And just knowing about it isn't going to make it go away. It can make it better, but not go away. Okay.
right, right. Because it's like, if you remember the triangle, right? It's like
Yeah.
it'll revert or reinstall. And so we want them to be both together. So when you do coaching and releasing, that's where the permanent change is going to be. And it won't keep coming back.
Yeah. Because after the first coaching in part two, I'd mentioned this to Carson in the class. I had an energy session already scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was something that had come up the day before, we went to it, and I actually went back to in utero. And so it was like that's where the energy work took me. So how
Yeah. When
to release something when you're not even really able to think, or I mean, there
I'm
are
going to have you put a pin in that question for part 3, because
okay,
your root cause event, because, and I'll give you a little bit of an answer right now, is your unconscious mind is abstract.
right,
It has no conscious concept of time. Your conscious mind is the one that has the linear thinking. So when we go into releasing in the unconscious mind, it's like blue circle, triangle, red, 32, 9. And you're like, what the heck do any of those things mean? So we try and put a conscious concept of a time, which is when we talk about timeline in part 3.
okay,
We're giving our unconscious mind, we're like, okay, this is your timeline. Pick a place. Where is it? And so it could be like 32 past lives. And you're like, what? But it's because
okay,
your unconscious mind is so abstract. We're trying to put that abstractness into what we understand as time.
okay.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about that in part 3. So
All right, I won't worry about it then.
we got you. Don't worry.
I mean, I actually felt the hurt and the betrayal and the rejection as that, well,
Mm-hmm.
unborn infant. It was pretty far along in the pregnancy,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it was. But then my conscious mind started going, how do I even know about this stuff? Right?
Oh, part
I
3.
don't know language yet. I don't know, but I guess feelings matter.
They
Yeah,
do. They do.
yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. On that note, I want to open it up to questions for everybody else. So any questions? Any questions? Okay. Terry, how do you break through the resistance of secondary gain? Ooh, that's a good one. Do you have breakthrough mentorship, Terry, still? That's a breakthrough mentorship question, but I could talk about it right now while people type in questions. Secondary gain is when the it's when the cost of keeping the negative thing outweighs releasing it, right? So it's like they'd rather keep the negative thought because it gives them something that they want versus releasing it so they wouldn't have that thing anymore. You really have to figure out why they have the secondary gain, like for what purpose, what are they getting out of it, and then coach them to see how they can get that thing without the negative thought or emotion. So you have to figure out what it is that is keeping them or they want to keep, right? So it could be like, oh, but I get love, or I get this, or I don't have to do this. So it's like figure out how they can have that without the negative thought or emotion. Okay, why didn't I make an observation that her mom's shame prevented her from loving her daughter, but the daughters? Because, so great question, Kathleen. So you had also asked earlier, is there anything that you can't, is there any problem that this method doesn't work on? So the answer is like still no. And you can't coach for somebody else. Meaning I can't coach Samantha. I can't put all the blame on her mom. That's effect. I need Samantha to be at cause with, yeah, she did say that, and that made me think this about myself. I can't change what her mom did or said or thought, but I can change how I can support Samantha in changing how she thinks about herself. So, yes, in doing this, and also I can't assume that her mom is broken. I'm operating under the presupposition that she was doing the best she could with the information that she had. Right? Everybody's working, is doing the best they can with the information they got. I can't put blame. Now I could coach her around her mom, like if she were to want to be like, I need this, and we have more time, and we coach around her mom, I can still coach her around her mom, right? I could do PIP on her mom. What are the negative qualities and characteristics? What are your negative thoughts and emotions? And it still all comes back into Samantha. It's not about her mom. So that's why it's really important that as a coach, you are able to keep that perspective that anybody who gets brought into the coaching session, right? So like a boss, a family member, a kid, a stranger, anybody who gets brought into the coaching session, it's not about that person. That person is just a representation of something that's your client needs to learn from. So I hope that helps in seeing the distinction there, because I can't coach her mom through Samantha. I can't
Yeah.
change her mom through Samantha, but I can support Samantha in seeing that she doesn't need to have that shame. That doesn't matter what her mom thought about her, because if Samantha has her self-love, if she knows that she's worthy, if she knows that she matters, and that she can love herself and she can get love from herself, and then any love that she gets from other people's a bonus, that's going to solve more of her problems than trying to figure out how to make her mom love her the same way that she loved her siblings. But then also, that's from her filters, right? It could be that Samantha was like the favorite child. I don't know. I'm just like making stuff up. It could be that she's the favorite child, but because of Samantha's own negative thoughts and emotions, she doesn't see that. She perceives her other siblings as the favorite. So her perspective of the story could also be skewed, which is why hashtag don't believe your client. And you always just ask them questions. You always just coach, and you don't want to assume. So I hope that helps, Kathleen. Perfect. I love that. Yes.
And if it does help, I realized much later in life that my mother was broken, but she was broken as a child as well,
Right.
you know, and she was doing the best she could.
And you never really know anyone, even your own parents, your spouse, your kids. You never really truly know anyone except yourself. You never know what somebody went through, how it affected them, their own negative thoughts and emotions. And so we're all doing the best we can with the information that we've got and with the coping skills that we've got, right? Some of them are good and some of them might not be great, but right? I love that. So that was a great question, Kathleen. Okay, what is the process called of bringing from a negative to a positive state? Fiona, are you talking about what we did here today, the coaching, I want to make sure I'm answering your question. Yeah. So this is root cause coaching. So you learned this in part 2 of Activate. You have, I don't have my binder. You have there's a whole section in your manual that is coaching. And so it's the 8 steps. You go from like the presenting problem, you coach them down, you find the need that didn't get met, the suppressed identity, and then you build up the other side. Great question. I'm so glad that it's beneficial to hear these things again. I love that. All righty. Any other questions? Any other questions? Absolutely. Oh God, that's what this whole community is for. So you guys can always reach out to each other in the Facebook group, right? Because we've got people from all different Activate cohorts watching these, right? So on the Facebook group, just say, hey, I want to practice some root cause coaching. The first 10 people, let's do this. And you'll get a bajillion comments. Okay, great question, Fiona. So when we describe a person as broken, what does that mean? If we're perceiving somebody as broken, it's relative to the person who's believing that, because we all have our own definitions of broken, right? We all have our own perceptions of that person. So it just means that something isn't working how your client is expecting it to work or wanting it to work, right? So like in this case of Samantha, right? Where it's like, oh, she goes, yeah, my mother was broken in her own way, right? It just means that her mom went through some stuff and didn't get the healing she needed. And so her behavior and her actions and her physiology were different, and they weren't what Samantha needed. That's like the best I can do without getting into like definitions of like, well, what's your definition of broken? Where do you think you're broken? All of the things. So I hope that helps, Fiona. Okay, how do we stay in the present and love and not drop back into fear and resistance? Ellen, are you asking in the context of the coach or in the context of the client? Coach and client. Okay, great. So I'll do client first and then coach. So for a client, how do you stay in the present and love and not drop back into fear and resistance? So from just a coaching session, right, we've built up the other side. You have the reframe, and you have the inspired action. So taking that inspired action is going to keep you in the present and the love and the learnings, right? Also just reminding yourself, right? Because it is all conscious, saying like, no, I do have this, I do have this, I am this, I do have self-worth, I do have self-love, I do trust, right? Just kind of like saying your positive building of the other side back to yourself. And you don't have to remember all of them, but if like 4 or 5 of them stuck out to you, to be like, no, I do have this, I am this. Until you get to the unconscious release, then you have like your learnings. Then you get your learnings from the release, and then we install your learnings in your unconscious mind. But then that way they're there, right? Because that's when we're breaking the neurological connection, reconnecting it somewhere else to your learnings. And then your learnings, it's just how it is, right? There is no other option. For the coach, staying in the present and not dropping into anything with your client, it takes a bit of practice, right? You have to learn yourself. You have to know yourself in the session. If somebody's talking about something that's really heavy or really sad, and your heart just goes out to them, of course, right? We're human. We have empathy and sympathy for our clients. Of course, I don't want anybody to have anything bad happen to them and chances are if they're in a coaching session, something did happen. The severity of that depends. So knowing yourself, knowing what you need in order to hold the space for your client. So I had to learn, because when I first started, I coached a client and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for what this client told me. I wasn't ready to experience or to listen to what had happened to this person. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I took it all on. So I had to tell my unconscious mind to not take anything that my clients say on. Because if I take on the hurt and the fear and all of that, then it's going to affect me, and then I can't serve the client and it affects my life. So I had to ask my unconscious mind, I'm like, do whatever you need to do, unconscious mind, for me to not take this on. So I'm able to hold the space, get into it with the client, and then essentially break state, right? I'm able to hold the space, hold the love, hold the compassion, hold the whatever it is that that person might need, right? Oftentimes it can come off very like, if love and safety and things like that were things that this person needed and didn't get, right? You'll notice I'll come off, like Laura said, right? I'll come out a little bit lower, a bit more nurturing, versus if the person needed somebody to like be in their corner, to have their back, to support them, I'm going to be more energetic. I'm going to be like, hell yeah, girlfriend, let's go. You got this. You're powerful. You're confident. So I'm going to be in their corner. So it's all about what your client needs. That's how you respond. And it's natural. It's not over the top. It's not something that you wouldn't normally do or how you wouldn't normally behave. It's like, if pumping somebody up and being in their corner sounds super energetic and excited, then that's what it is, right? If holding the space of love and safety for somebody is a bit more tender and caring, that's what it is, right? That's what it is for me. Versus for some people, it's a bit different. So it's learning yourself, how you coach, how you show up, and what you need to not take on what your clients say, right? Because you get to help them and you don't need to take their stuff on. They are the expert in their problems. You do not need to be. Yeah. And my tone and voice changes throughout the session depending on where we're at, depending on what we're doing, depending on what we're talking about, depending on if we're just getting a definition or if we're going to talk about something a bit more sensitive or a bit maybe not as nice of a topic, right? So all of the things, it's all sensory acuity, baby. All right, everybody. Well, this was a fantastic call. Thank you, Samantha, for
Thank
being
you.
seen and putting yourself out there, because you're worth it.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to hear about your masterclass and your
Yeah.
offer and all of the success that you're going to have and all the money you're going to make.
Well, get on my mailing list. You'll know all about it.
Have a great week, everybody. Thank you all for your questions, for your love, for your support. And I will see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.